So, you've been building your game for 6 months, a year, maybe even two, and tonight is finally the night. You bring the box to your friends in your local community, you lay down on the table as your precious treasure box. They open it, they start to play, and then, within the first 10 minutes, it starts. This is confusing, man. I don't know, this feels pointless. Well, what's the meaning of this? Why do I need to play it like this? At first, you might nod politely, even try to be a professional. Try to keep your mouth shut, but then your body betrays you. Your stomach drops. Your ears get hot. Your heart starts hammering like you're in a brutal mortal danger. Suddenly, you're not hearing feedback about the game anymore. You're hearing a verdict about yourself. So, you do what mostly every creator does. You explain, you defend, you argue the right way to play, or maybe you just go quiet and start feeling hollow inside. The problem with all of this is not that you're being too sensitive or that the players are wrong. The problem is that your mind literally cannot see your own design objectively. Today, I'm going to show you what's happening in our minds that is stopping you from having an objective viewpoint of your game. Let's dig in. Have you heard of the IKEA effect? Research has shown that when people create something with their own hands, in this case furniture, they value their work 60% higher than pre-assembled pieces or pieces made by other people, even when their creations are objectively worse. The IKEA effect is a cognitive bias. We place a higher value on products we have built ourselves, and consequently, we are ready to defend them way more. The usual explanation for this is effort. The more work you put into something, the more you value the outcome, and of course, the more you will defend it. What it means to say is that your sense of self, myself, extends to incorporate the project, the game, as a part of myself. The game becomes a part of me. So when you look back at those playtests where your blood began to boil and your skin tingled, you can actually see it. They weren't criticizing your game. They were giving negative feedback to a part of you. So your brain-body system tells you that you yourself are being endangered, attacked, even violated by these negative feedbacks. That's the reason why we have such a deep visceral reaction. But unfortunately, the IKEA bias isn't the only one working against our ability to be objective. So the first is the self-serving bias. The self-serving bias is the tendency to take credit for everything successful in our lives and simply blame the situation or other people for all the failures. In a game design context, what it means to say is that if a playtest is successful, you will mostly attribute that to your own skill, vision, of course, the effort and everything you have done, your co-authors, designers, whatnot. But when you receive negative feedback, your brain will blame it on the wrong target group. Player limitations, technical constraints, anything. I mean, it can conjure up all kinds of solutions. For instance, the lighting was off. People didn't see the text clearly because we required more light. Or we simply didn't have enough beer or pretzels. People came straight from work, they were stressed, etc., etc. This actually blocks our possibility to learn on our mistakes. Because if it's always somebody else's fault and not mine, or it's somebody else's responsibility and not mine, then who will fix the game, right? So in this sense, we really need to be capable of protecting our sense of self, protecting myself from externalizing failure towards others. We need to simply sincerely ask ourselves, okay, what did I do wrong? Or even better, what could I do to fix this game? All right, now let's move to the second, the famous confirmation bias or my side bias. You guys probably heard about it. So the confirmation bias is the tendency for our brain and our bodies to process information, both internal and external, by looking for things that are consistent with our existing beliefs. If you believe your game is good, which most of us do, right? Your mind will actively and preferentially seek out information that confirms it. And it will actually prune information that confirms it. It will make you lean on positive feedback heavily and dismiss or diminish anything that contradicts your belief about the goodness, the quality of your product. And even moreover, your mind will even twist ambiguous feedback into the my game is good category. So to summarize these three hurdles, it's the IKEA effect. First, we value our own work more because it's tied to our sense of self. The self-serving bias, we attribute success to ourselves and failure to external factors. And third, confirmation bias, we subconsciously filter information to protect our belief that the game is actually great. And when you have all of these processes working at once, so it's no wonder that the playtest feels so intense. I mean, and how can you get out of this? How can we become objective enough to make the best game possible? I'm going to give you several techniques to break these biases. Some of them are rather proven in research, and those are the ones that we are mentioning here. First is parallel prototyping. So, what's parallel prototyping? It's the opposite of serial prototyping. And serial prototyping is, I believe, the majority of our work. You are constantly focused on a single model of a game or on a single element of a game, like a mechanic or a narrative description or anything, a part of the world, and you try to go deeper and deeper to refine that specific element or that specific model. So this actually increases your emotional attachment and fuels the effect of integration within your sense of self, the IKEA effect. But parallel prototyping is the opposite. So when you work on multiple design concepts simultaneously, that's parallel prototyping. So instead of focusing on one idea, you will try to build 3 to 5 lightweight, we call that even shallow, not deep, low fidelity versions of a mechanic or narrative flow, whatever. So you will present them all at once and see which of these performs best. Now, what research shows is that this doesn't just create more diverse designs, it actually increases your self-confidence. And most importantly, for our sake here, it reduces the negative emotional reaction to feedback. Because when you have several alternatives of a single element in a game or of a whole game, your focus is dispersed. You don't fold down, collapse on a single idea and get attached to it no matter what, right? Because then you will defend it by your own blood, so to say. Now, the second one is pre-mortem analysis. Pre-mortem actually means in Latin prior to death. So, before you even go to a playtest, you will take your model and say, this game has utterly failed. Don't ask if it will fail. Assume, roleplay, think, simulate that it already has. Then list 5 or 6 reasons why it has failed. By instructing your mind through this technique, you will actually simulate a failure caused by the model itself. And when you do that, you bypass, at least you try to bypass, the self-serving bias, which is, it's somebody else's fault, not mine. So here you have only the model and you say, why has this model failed? Third, temporal distancing. Now, this technique is usually used by writers and artists to try to create a psychological distance. Simply let time do its own work. Give yourself a week or 2, perhaps even 3, without touching your game at all. This reduces your immediate emotional attachment and allows you to evaluate the model more objectively when you finally bring it to the table or for another roundup of analysis. And now, finally, the last two. So, kill your darlings is the famous writing approach where you try to identify your darlings. These are the features you are most proud of and most passionate about. Now, when you identify it, you need to objectively ask yourself, does this really serve the core gameplay loop? Is it moving the player experience forward? And finally, is this in the game simply because I love it or because it serves the game's purpose? Because the players will need it in this game. And this is perhaps one of the most difficult questions for us to ask and to get an objective answer from, because it's extremely tied to our emotions, our emotional processing of the game. But precisely because of that, I believe we can really get a tremendous amount of benefit from this process, because you really need to overall ask yourself while you're designing is, for whom am I designing this game? Is it really for the players or is it simply for myself? Am I really just creating this game to just put this mechanic or tie these two mechanics together with this narrative because it feels great to do that, or really contribute to the quality of the game? Now, a variant of this, which I personally love to use, I personally prefer, is called the devil's advocate. So what I do here, I role play myself. I try to put myself into a role of a harsh reviewer. Let's say a professional reviewer, a writer, a journalist, and then I really want to demolish the game. I simply want to stop this game from succeeding by giving it a really bad I'm a bad actor, I'm a bad guy, okay? I want to give it a bad assessment. But I need to be professional and I need to be argumentative. I simply cannot just make things up. I need to look for objective reasons why this game is bad. Not why it might be bad, but why it is bad. So I will find those bad things and I will point them out clearly and transparently. All right, so it's basically adversarial testing, but from your own perspective. And finally, we have the self-distancing technique, which we can actually use within the playtest. So this is the last tool that we have. When we enter the playtest, what we actually can do, we can try to act as a fly on the wall. It's really like that. So during a playtest, you try to step back from the situation. You try to take the observer's perspective. You basically imagine like it's none of your concern. You are the fly on the wall, objectively just being there, looking at these guys play, taking notes, etc. So by removing yourself from the process, from the playtest, you actually can reduce emotional reactivity and improve your ability to objectively evaluate and process what is actually happening at the table. All right, let's then summarize. When you feel that visceral physical reaction to a playtest, this is not a sign that you are not fit to be a game designer, because it's your brain doing exactly what it's, in a sense, designed to do. The IKEA effect, self-serving bias, confirmation bias, they all work together to cloud your judgment, your objective evaluation of the game. This isn't a character flaw. It's how we are wired, but you can break through it. And you break through it by using these processes. First, parallel prototyping. So you will build multiple versions simultaneously, either of a single element or many of them, like a group of elements. And then by doing that, you will never get attached to a single version of it. You will never get focused only on a single version. Second is the kill your darlings or the devil's advocate protocol. It forces you to confront the parts of your game that might be there more for you than for the game or the players. Try to roleplay as your own harshest critic. Find objective arguments why the model is not working, why it's bad. Then temporal distancing, give yourself a week or two away from the project to let that emotional attachment settle. And then the pre-mortem analysis. Once you come back, just assume the game has failed and find the reasons why. Identify those reasons. And when you enter into the playtest, after all of these steps, enter into the playtest, try to be the fly on the wall. Or roleplay a hired expert that is not you, basically, somebody else. Now, none of this means you shouldn't care deeply about your game. The goal of all of these tools is not to stop caring about your work or to be passionate. It's to shift your focus from yourself to the game model. Because when you stop seeing feedback as a verdict on who you are as a designer or as a person, and start seeing it as precious, valuable data to improve the game system you are building, that's the moment when you are actually opening up to yourself the possibility to become the best designer you can. So the next time you put your game on the table, try some of these tools first, I beg you. Step back, look for the holes, ask why might this fail before anybody else has to tell you. You will still feel when the criticism hits. It's completely normal, but you'll be more ready to hear it. And guys, that's what I wanted to share for this time. I really sincerely believe in you as designers and I want you to succeed. Until the next time, Tom from Eridan Game Studios salutes you.